So we're back out here again, out in the wilderness, and the funny thing is, well, today I'm actually going to be teaching you how to make a primitive trap to capture an animal. Now, what's funny is, like, you've probably seen all these people try these different primitive traps. They never actually catch anything. That's because 99% of primitive traps, either they don't work. If they do work, you've got to put them in place for a couple of years before you actually eventually catch something. So what I'm going to be doing today is actually going to be showing you how, by using some simple resources around you, you can actually build and design your own trap, which is going to work pretty much most of the time. Now, at the end of the day, it's all about using your head. You know, I think people often forget how we can manipulate our environments to our advantage, and this is probably the best example of how you can do so. Alright, Church, step one is cut a piece of bamboo. This could be done using stones and bones, but you might be there for a while. A saw is much easier, but that ain't exactly primitive. And also, make sure you clean it out so it's perfectly hollow. Step two, using your hands and some sharpened sticks, create a trench which a bamboo will fit into nicely. Step 3, the next thing we need to do is place some flat stones on either side of the bamboo entrances. This will meet flush with the bamboo ends and will prevent the animal from digging out once the hollow falls. Step 4, using a strand of bamboo that will hold a decent weight, we need to fix the bait to the end so it doesn't come off and thus acts as an anchor which can easily bear the weight of the bamboo hollow. Now, this may take a little bit of mucking around, but soon you'll figure it out. The harder the bait, the better stable the anchor will be. Now remember that. Making a hole in the middle of the bamboo can be done with a knife or created by burning a small hole using a heated tip of a stick. You must remember, regardless of it being a slit or a hole, guys, it needs to be centered right in the middle. And lastly, step 5. The holding support beam needs to be directly above the trench, which will allow the bait holding line to be fixed to. You can add another supporting line, as I have here. This will help with multiple attempts and failures, and trust me guys, you're literally going to fail more times than you will succeed in the first couple of goes. There you have it. That's pretty much how you make a primitive trap. Now, the whole thing about a primitive trap, and you know, the effectiveness of this relies on a couple of different factors. And I think most importantly is A, being able to set it up in the right location, and B, understanding the whole concept and the efficiency around the trigger. And what I mean by the trigger is that exact pinpoint location that will effectively set the trap off and actually capture the animal, whether it be a snare that flies up or something like this. So trying to find like a bit of a balancing act in order for this to work is obviously going to be the hardest thing. But it's great because this actually relies on gravity, and well, at the end of the day, we can all rely on that. Now, to make this even more effective is, I guess you could do a couple of different things. Like if there was like a native type of jam or even honey that you could acquire out here, you could merely smear that around this sort of bait site and just you know, try to get the animal going in for that hole. Having said that, I am targeting rats, so smaller mammals, so this shouldn't be a problem considering that they actually live in amongst the bamboo. So what I'm doing is I've actually just shaved up some almonds, and I'm just going to crush these up, sprinkle them around, and all I'm trying to do really is trying to attract them into this area. So what works a little bit better is if you have peanut butter and smearing that around. That'll obviously get them coming in as well. I'm just trying to put a couple of down there. Really trying to. So, alright. And by the way, I think I've invented this type of trap. I actually haven't seen this type of trap before. And that's, I give it a bit of a name only because when I've seen it work, the first thing that comes to my head is, Chuchi! I've caught something! So, I've called it the Chuchi trap. And now it's just a waiting game to see if it works. Having caught several rats over the course of a month, I decided to place 2 game cameras, one on photo format and the other on video, to get the capture live. Now, this trap is going to work in one of 2 ways. Either A, as a result of the bait being taken immediately, which causes it to fall, or B, alternatively, what occurred here, where it comes to a point that the bait anchor is so weak from being gnawed at continuously, it can no longer support his welcoming introduction. It is key to note that weasels, martens, mongooses and other smaller predators will trigger the trap to fall quicker. This is based on their psychology of feeding, which is based on their commitment to pull the bait off in just one go. Now, as you can see, this is obviously different to that of rodents. These animals are highly nervous and sensitive to their surroundings, as you can see here in the following footage. Alright, so there you go, guys. And that's why I call it the Chuchi trap, because every single time you get excited, like, Chuchi! I finally caught something. Now, there were a couple of modifications that I had to do. Of course, I came down there and checked that it didn't fall right. So what I noted was, using some sticks just gives it like a bit more of a direction, a bit more of a movement when it's falling. Just helps with the whole gravity of things. Now, look, another thing, you know, with primitive traps, I've seen so many primitive traps online, and most of them, well, they don't work. They look good, the concept sounds absolutely fantastic, but the problem is with primitive traps, they have to work in practice. That's the thing, right? They've got to work in practice. And look, this is a primitive trap that works at least 50% of the time, which is better than most primitive traps, quite literally. Having said that, Church, the thing that you have to consider is this, is you need to make sure that the hollow that you're using is thick enough and the animal's not going to be able to chew out. That's number one. Number two is using the right food product. It's got to be stable enough so it doesn't fall through. You know, using things like a macadamia nut or like a chestnut are probably the two best sort of nuts that I would use when going for a game like this. And the third thing is the trickiest thing that frustrates most people. They hit their head and they punch things, is because of the equilibrial balance and getting that right. That's a very, very tricky part. But you know, with a little bit of trial and error, and a little bit of screaming and biting bamboo and all that sort of stuff, you'll soon figure it out the primitive way. So, I'm using a plastic bag. Now, look, this technique's going to work on many different animals, not just rodents. I've used it with weasels, I've used it with squirrels, I've used it with larger predators as well. Anything which is inquisitive, anything which will go into a hole and take a bait, Chuchi, you're going to be able to catch him. So keep this in mind, you know what I mean? So if you've got some spare time on your hands, kids, and you want to show your friends something cool and how to catch something in a primitive way, this is how you can do it.
Alright, so what I'm going to do is this, we're going to do it like this, because you're going to like me out, but you're not stupid.
Okay. You're okay, mate. You're okay. Let me just get you in the corner. You're okay. Oh, wait, you had been doing some chewing in there, haven't you? You're okay. Good boy. Okay, Chutch, and there you have it. This is a small rat that you can see. And in a survival situation, you could potentially eat this. You really could. You can see he's pretty cute though. Settle down. Okay, mate. There we go. There. And obviously, because I'm in a situation where I'm hungry, I'm going to be letting this little guy go. But once again, hey, relax. Once again, you can use this technique for multiple species. You know, not just rodents. So keep that in mind, guys, when you're out there. Don't forget it. All right, mate. You better relax. Okay. Okay, my little friend. Take off. Do what you have to do. And that's it, Chuchi. That's how you catch a rat using the Chuchi trap.